That's dope. And we started to talk about relationships and what you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have time for. And I really want to talk about you becoming an author because you and I have side conversations, and you
Oh,
said something about when you were little, you went in the bathroom, and you said to this day, you don't like to see women cry.
yeah.
You were wiping your mom's tears. And me and you talk about relationship stuff
Yeah.
a lot. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? You know some things that I've been through,
Yeah. Yeah.
prior to
Mm-hmm.
meeting my now wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk to you all the time about uh, relationships because you and I would get into conversations about how you would operate or
Yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
things
So,
in your journey of
yeah.
getting to know different women. And I want to ask you this. You told me earlier
I know you did.
that your father was a womanizer, right? Now I know you're not that way. And I think this is the reason why you don't womanize women,
Mm.
but I feel like you do have this way with women
Mm-hmm.
that if the devil was on your left shoulder,
It'd be a problem.
you could be a womanizer.
So, yeah.
And I'm wondering, because of that bloodline of your father.
The sins of the father fall on the children. I
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
believe that. Um, but yeah, so I I think all of my brothers have the capability. I think every man does. Um, but for me, like we've talked about, right? I I hated that piece about my father the most. Like, I was like, man, like my mom is older woman. My mom looked good. You saw my mom.
Yeah, for her
My
age,
mom,
definitely.
and she had 6 kids, and she got it together. So
She do.
there's no excuse. I digress. You know what I mean? But for me, the scripture that pops in my head, and even as a kid, uh, I had this concept that there's a reason why God made Eve last, right? You said the best for last, right? Um, and that the image of Adam and Eve stuck in my head because Adam had everything, and it still wasn't enough, right? It still wasn't. God was like, nah, something's off. You need to help me. And in my mind, it's like, you know, women are the weaker vessel, and the example is fine china, right?
Now, what do you think how people gonna take that? Like explain that by saying women are the weaker
So
vessel.
I can explain it, and I go into depth in the book about it, right? So women are the weaker vessel, not that they're less than, or it's again, fine china. If you know what china is back in the day, you couldn't touch the china.
Right.
The china was brought out for special occasions, right? So the weaker vessel meaning they should be protected, they should be taken care of with great care.
But if not,
If not,
like China, if you drop it,
it's going to break. The thing about a woman, the thing about women, right? Women are the most adaptable thing God made, right? So whatever men don't do, a woman will take up that load and take it and carry it. The problem is though, it's gonna dull her sharpness, right? I talk about in the book King and Queen. You know how people walking around now, what up, King? I'm a queen. Okay. One of the things, a king enforces the law, right? Most people don't understand what a queen's job is. A queen is the liaison between the people and the king. A queen is the hearth of the kingdom, right? She keeps it warm.
hearth.
Yeah, I mean, don't do that. She keeps it warm,
Mm-hmm.
right? Me and you can't just walk up to the king and be like, hey man, da 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 da. You're dead. But the people will entreaty the queen, right? because she has access. Esther pops in the head, right? The queen is the only person that can just walk in there, and she has influence. Nothing on the planet has more influence than a woman. Ask me how I know. Go ahead, ask me.
How you know?
Because think about this. Adam was perfect, sinless. Adam, if you're perfect, you know things, you see things. Adam named all the animals, all this stuff. Adam talked to God. So not like God spoke to him through a burning bush. Just like me and you sitting here, Adam was like, "What up, God? Good morning, man. What we doing today? We doing croissants? We doing," you know what I'm saying? Like he talked to God. God told him not to do something. And a woman got a man who actually, the first man who talked to God face to face to disobey him. That's influence. That's crazy influence. Hey, eat this fruit. He ate it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why, that's influence. So I always say a woman's power is her influence. A man's power is his choice, his legacy.
Your book is a book of poetry.
There's a lot of poetry in that.
Right?
Yes.
And given your perspective about women, life, relationships, and it has nothing to do with your profession, why write this book? Do you believe there's any correlation between the relationship of your mom and your father, seeing what happened with that treatment, the way that you are now, and even in your journey of dealing with or meeting different women is the reason why you came up with this book?
So what's interesting about this book, there are pieces of this book as far back as when I was 8 years old. I've always written poetry. Don't know why. I don't intend to write poetry. I don't sit down and say I'm writing a poem. I just start writing, and it just comes out that way. And I think a lot of that is because of the King James Version of the Bible, very poetic language, right? I just started writing. I would write, just different things. And they seem to be around a general theme, relationships. And believe it or not, this book is very much so related to my profession. I'm gonna get us there, get everybody there. So engineers are generally problem solvers, right? And every innovation is to solve a problem. We used to ride horses. Well, how can we go further faster without having to stop, rest the horse, feed them? We designed and developed a car. Birds fly, so we observed the birds and we built an airplane. Right? So in my mind, those are all problems. And we're working on new ones every day.
Solutions.
What is the most complex, multivariate problem on the planet? Relationships. You know why? The variables are infinite. Everybody has different things that they need, that they desire. Those are all variables. And what's crazy is those variables change over time. So you are constantly trying to balance an equation that's constantly changing. The most complex problem on the planet.
And you decided to engineer
a way to consider relationships, right? So anytime you solve a problem, at least the way I was taught in engineering, the first thing you do is you read the question and you write down your givens, right? What's given in the question? The weight, the speed, velocity, whatever, right? There are some things that are constant, right? For one, there's a rubric for relationships. For those people that believe God, Christians, it's the Bible. What's interesting is very few of us go to the Bible when we are engaging or thinking about engaging in a relationship with someone. And it doesn't mean romantic relationships, right? Our friendships. Are your friendships governed by that rubric? And so, constants. Human beings are involved in relationships. Human beings are fallible. We will mess up. That's a constant. So why do we react crazy when somebody falls short? Right? So it's like, I expect you, and it's not intentional, but we're going to fall short. Straight up. Right? Especially when you decide to say, I do, and now you got this lifelong roommate, this lifelong partner.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff going to start getting exposed. And it's going to be like, yo, I don't like that. Or I forgot your birthday. And people be like, oh my God, how you forget my birthday? Because I'm trying to make sure so many other things are taken care of. You know, my bad. Forgive me. People will hold on to that. Like,
let me ask you this. Your book is a solution or a guide to solutions to have better relationships.
nope.
No?
First thing I say in my book is, this book doesn't have any answers at all. The whole purpose of this book is to get people to think about their relationships, the relationships they're in. Consider why you do what you do, right? Consider the other person. I just want people thinking about who, what, where, why, and when. Because some of us are in relationships we got no business being in.
So with that being said, what is the hope that will happen after reading the book? Is it some type of organic, God-given epiphany where it's like, I now know how to judge, or I know how to approach, I know how to operate within?
So the first thing I ask people in the book, in the first couple of pages, is don't read this book by yourself. Read it with somebody. The whole takeaway is, I want you to communicate, interact with the people you're in relationship with while you read the book, just to spark conversations. This whole book is about talking about your relationship. In order for it to get better, you got to talk about it. One of the chapters in here, it's near the end, it's in 3 parts, so it's in the second section of the book. Present Progressives is the name of it. And they're not really chapters, they're sections of thought, so forgive me for saying chapters. One of the sections, expectations, right? So many of us are in relationships and we've never sat down and had a conversation of, hey, this is what I'm seeking in this relationship. Can you meet this expectation, right? Now, some of those are unspoken because that's how we normally function. Mike, we're friends. If you call me any day, hey, Jay, I need this. If I got it, I got you. If I don't got it, I'm going to figure out a way to get it, and I got you. That's expected, right? That's what you can expect from me, right? But too often, and we can get into dating and because that's what most people want to hear about, right? We get into these relationships with people too quickly, by the way, which is a whole different topic. And then we expect them to just know what we expect them to do. And nowadays, let's get controversial, right? Women expect a guy, this is one of the things I hate well, he need to pay, I'm not paying for anything. When we go out, that's on him. He's a man. And I hear different reasons for that. Well, that tells me he's interested. He needs to invest. Well, what are you investing in? What is your investment? You think you so great that your presence is your investment? Girl, bye.
Let me ask you this. With the way that society is now, what is your take on the perspective of what women try to define as being a man?
Ooh.
Based on your experience
So,
and maybe, the conversations that you've had?
So one of the things that I've seen, it's a trending thing, is a man is someone who can give me the life that I want. That's like a big thing. Like, he needs to be able to give me this idea of the life that I want, right? And I think that's crazy, right?
Why?
I think it's crazy because where are you in this equation? If you want a certain life, then you should pursue that, right? But that life is usually materialistic, right? I want to live in this type of house and this type of. He needs to make enough money where we can go on vacation. Do you make enough money where you can go on a vacation? That's my first question.
Some will say they do.
Some will say they do, and that's great. But if the value of your life is based on whether or not you can go on vacation, you will have a miserable life, right? So, and then I hear things like, "Well, I just want a good man."
I was gonna get to that.
Oh, you know,
I was gonna get to that. I mean, I think this is good. Is there anything about your book that will? Because you say you want your people, the readers, to think about this, to think about relationships. Is there anything in your book that puts you in the thought about this good man?
100%.
Okay, where were you going with this good man?
Oh man, there's a whole lot about good man and a good woman. So, I want a good man. There's nothing wrong with that. However, that's not definitive enough. What is a good man? Right? And I use some extreme examples, right? Well, a good man is, he got a good job and he can provide and he's a protector and all this stuff. I've met a lot of good men in my life. And they put their hands on their ladies. You look nice, you dress nice, but you got a black eye every now and again. Well, it doesn't have to be physical, right? He degrades you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. All the bills are paid. You drive a nice car, Mercedes-Benz. That's a specific example. So if she's listening, I'm sorry. You got it all. But you feel empty and you feel less than because he talks to you like you are one of the things that he owns, because he does.
Let me ask you this. So is it that the idea of this life that can be provided becomes more of value because of the material?
Yes, sir.
And it ends up trumping how the actual treatment should have more value than the material.
And the treatment is just a segment of it, right? And so when you, I had a thought just now, man. So the material is kind of the driving force for everything, right? We're always comparing. We want more. We want more. We want more. When I think of a good man, right? And there's no definitive answer for this thing, right? But when I think of a good man, in my mind, I think of a man who understands that when I'm married to this woman, I'm responsible, number one, for the spiritual direction of this relationship.
What about boyfriend and girlfriend?
Boyfriend and girlfriend, not the same, right? In this relationship, for me, yes, you still kind of steer it in a certain, there's certain things I won't allow. And I'm about to convict myself. You ready for this?
Well, yeah.
Like, boyfriend and girlfriend, we dating, all right? We're adults. You don't need to be at my house at 10 o'clock. There's a cutoff time.
But you violated that cutoff time.
But 100 times in my life, right?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like getting to know people, hanging out and all this stuff. Like, there's certain times, like, and help a brother out, man. These yoga pants and PJs, don't come to my house in PJs. You know what I'm saying? We watching a movie, it's 15 other couches in here, but you want to sit there. Like, I'm not going to say no to that, right? And a lot of times you entice that, right? You know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's like, don't do that to yourself. And what's wrong with hugging and kissing and cuddling and all that stuff? So a couple of days ago, I listened to something Jackie Hill Perry said. Was it Jackie Hill Perry or somebody? One of those podcast snippets, and they said, kissing ain't bad, cuddling ain't bad. These are all beautiful things God made. But everything that's good isn't expedient for me, right? You putting yourself in a problem because cuddling, you got them cheeks up on my pelvis, homie, is one thing that's gonna happen. It ain't gonna stay down, I'm gonna tell you that. Right? And let's not pretend like men are the only ones that are like get sexually excited. Man, girls be out there thirsty, like they be struggling too. You just can't see it. Ours is visual. I be like, some women, I be like, yo, you struggling hard.
I mean, well, you can see it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, dating nowadays, man, is interesting, and I believe there's a difference between dating and courting, right? If I'm dating.
But before you go into that.
Okay.
I really want you to go back to how you're defining the good man.
Okay, so in short, right, for me, a good man is a man who recognizes the brevity of his responsibility as a man. A man that can say, hey, yo, I messed up. I'm wrong. Hey, babe, I'm sorry. But at the same time can say, hey, no, that's not right. We're not doing that. Because that's not going to help us. Oh, I want a leader. But when he starts leading, it's like, you can't tell me what to do? Hold up. You can't have it both ways, right? You know, a man, you just recognizes like, my choices affect a lot. Everybody's choices affect their lives, right? But a man's choices affects a lot. Can I prove it to you? Darius Daniels always says, go back to the first mention, right? Go back to Adam and Eve. First of all, Eve talking to a snake, which is crazy. She ate the fruit, nothing happened. Adam ate the fruit, and all of creation fell. That's our superpower, our choices. It reverberates through time. Another example, real quick, and I'm not trying to preach. This is just how I think, right?
Do you, bro?
Look at Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
God told Abraham, I'm going to give you a son, and you're going to have children as great as the sand on the earth, right? My boy wasn't going to wait. His wife, Sarah, was like, hey, sleep with my handmaid. We're going to have a son. Hagar conceives. Then Sarah get an attitude off of her idea, right? And then later, you know, Sarah had the son that God promised her. God already told you you're going to have it. You, Sarah, going to have it. Why you do that? So they had a son. God is going to bless his seed. So Ishmael, Hagar's son, is blessed. It's not as great as, you know, Isaac. Yeah, Isaac. However, the Middle East, Ishmael, that's their seed. For generations, on top of generations, Abraham made a bad choice. And that's what that is to this day. I mean, the Middle East is a rough, you got family fighting each other. And that's the contention, right? But even in that, God still uses both sides to bless each other. It's crazy. And so our decisions affect so much, man. Like the way the world is, the way relationships are, the way women view themselves, the way men operate or don't operate. It's all on us as men. We set the stage. And because we've relinquished our duties to women, and now we want them to be submissive, bro, you gave her the leadership role. A woman will adapt to everything. The hard part is now going and trying to take that back. Good luck. It's hard.
What's the dating market for you?
It's not a dating market.
It's not?
We call it the streets, the dating streets.
The
That's what
dating
it's called now.
streets?
These streets out here are treacherous, man. Got potholes and everything. They not paved. And so I've wrestled with this, and I've been asked this quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my eyes are always open. I'm open to dating and meeting new people, and even now in my older years, I haven't always made the right choice because there's again a section in the book called frustration. Frustration, right? I get this a lot, and we've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you arrogant. You think you better than so and so. I had a young lady not too long ago said that I was conceited and I was thinking too highly of myself because I said, hey, nice to meet, but I'm not interested. She had 3 kids by different guys. And so, we're talking, cute. Not even cute. She was beautiful. I'm like, okay, I see you. Full lips, You know what I'm saying? Got her little toothbrush and got the edges,
So you can, 3 kids.
So I'm getting
three or different fathers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when that came up, she told me that, and I was like, oh wow. And so we're talking, and she's like, hey, I'd like to see you again, and da 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 da. And I was like, I enjoyed the conversation, but for me, we can stay in touch, but I don't see myself pursuing this further. And that may seem harsh to some people, but I don't believe in wasting time. In my mind, talking to her, going out with her, knowing that that's a problem for me. And so I shared that with her. I feel like that would be lying, right? Leading somebody on. And she was like, well, that's quite judgmental of you, right? And then she got immediately defensive and aggressive, towards me. And you know me, I'm always chill. I'm chilling, I let her get it out. And I was like, I get to choose what I want. I get to choose whether or not I want. Like, you can't force me into this. And I said, I encourage you to think about your choices. And this may come off real harsh, but if you don't like it, so be it. I'm not judging anybody. You had 1 kid. Slip up, whatever. You had another one. Okay. 3 times, you just showed me that your decision making isn't the best. That's what you just showed me. And they weren't far apart. I'm talking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at your decision making. I'm not judging you. I just know that that's not where I want to go. Right? That's not healthy.
Most men may be in that situation. I'm not even going to say most men. I'm going to say some men may look at that as, an opportunity to, engage. Whether, she's made those decisions in her life. And probably knowing that they may not even take her seriously for, a real commitment.
Are we talking about just smashing?
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is. Some men will do that, right?
What is it about you and being responsible as a man to not further what I like to call damaging the situation? Because I've been in similar situations, in my single life where I've had to assess the situation and make that type of decision because I knew that if I choose to be like everybody prior to me, then all I was going to do is further damage the what I felt like as far as that person's decisions and how they made, so how did you get to this mindset to be this way? And are there more men that exist like this?
First of all, I want to say I'm not perfect. I'm a guy, man. Like, straight up. I like what I like.
I
know
know
what I'm saying? Hey,
mm-hmm.
If you got the right curves and I like it, right? But for me, again, it's just observing and seeing the damage, right? I've known so many people and I've seen and I've experienced what happens when you're just careless, right? You're not just damaging her, you're damaging those kids. You're damaging the guy that's potentially for her. For me, I feel like I'm in a position where again I can choose, right? But another guy may be like, I'm cool with that. And that's cool, but if I go in there, get the draws, and just roll out, you know what I'm saying? That's damaging, right? So now this dude has to come in and pay my bill and then the bill of everybody else. And it's harder. In my mind, it doesn't make sense, right? It's not fair. It's a lot. And that's a person. Like that's a whole person. And so I've had friends that we met up and it didn't work out, but we're still friends. I encourage and all that stuff. But I just feel like I've seen too much damage, man. Like nothing can damage a person like a relationship.
Man, that's so dope because sometimes I sit and I wonder if there are more men who have stories like this where they're in situations and you're confronted with being responsible regardless of how your flesh is and seeing what the future could end up being if you choose to not do the right thing. You feel me? I've been in a situation where young lady had kids and I knew where I was at a point in my life as far as what I wanted to be married, wanted to have my own family. And we had a conversation about in the event if we wanted to be serious. My first question was, would you want to get married? Because this person was married before. And it was like, yeah, I get married again. I was like, well, okay.
Cool.
I was like, would you give me a child?
That's a big one. Right?
And she said no. And I said,
flag on the play.
And I said, okay. I said, in that moment, I said, with all due respect, I respect your decisions.
Yeah.
But what I know of where this could go, because, I do understand that, at that particular time, we may have a liking towards one another. I can't go any further with this because I know what my future is going to be and what I want it to be. She didn't dislike it,
right.
But at the same time, there was this kind of, response back to trying to go down that road and be in a relationship. And I was just like, no. And I explained and I was like, why do that? Why create more damage when I know in the future you're not going to be my wife?
But Mike,
and she didn't like it.
She saw a good man, and that's the reality. But so I believe there are plenty of good men and good women. That's a good thing. They're doing the right thing. Now the deeper question is, are we compatible? Right? Are we equally yoked? Are we compatible? Right? Kids are big, and as you know, I'm great with kids. I love kids. Like I have no problem dating a woman with a kid.
Our kid.
Our kid. One. Because that's a decision that I can make, right? And people be like, oh, you this. Let me put it out there, right? Everybody has preferences, right? I have a friend and I love her. If she ever hears this, she calls me and her husband shallow, right? We like what we like. She's beautiful. Like, she look like a supermodel, right? She's like, oh, y'all are shallow because y'all look, no, ma'am. You've heard this example. We at a party, right? This girl across the room. What's gonna make me walk over there? It ain't your personality. I don't know you. I can't see your personality. You have to look like whatever I like, and that could be anything, for me to walk over and approach you. That's the first thing, right? And so I think there are good people everywhere. You meet them, you talk. Are we compatible? Children, that's a big thing, right? I want kids. I love kids. I'm great with kids. Some would argue I am a big kid, right? If I meet a woman who's beautiful, funny, all the things that I like, and no, I don't have a list, right? But she's like, I don't want to have children. Can't do nothing with that.
Right.
I can't. Because that's a non-negotiable for me. Unless the good Lord, if we both intend that we just can't, that's fine, right? But we're not going into this, and some people will go into that relationship and force the kid. Now you got, this woman is unhappy, and the Bible says it's better to live on the corner of the roof of your house than to live with a quarreling woman. So it's like, it's more responsible. I love you this much, right? And this is that agape, right? Oh, probably not agape, but the brotherly love. But there's agape mixed in there. I love you enough to say, hey, this isn't going to work.
You know what I realized? Even though in my experience, they might not have wanted to hear it expressed that way.
They respected it later.
They respected it, and to this day, you know, we're cool.
We're cool. Old girl that told me I was a terrible person, basically. We've lost touch on that. But after a while, she came and apologized. She was in that. She felt rejected. Rejection is a crazy thing, right? And that's one of the things. Now that I think about it, made me write about rejection in this book. Rejection is just somebody's preference. It doesn't take away your worth, your value. That's their preference. You're just not what they prefer, right? And I think that triggered her in some way. Like she felt like she wasn't good enough. Me not wanting to move forward should not affect how you view yourself. If it does, I need you to go work on that. Like, understand that God made you perfect the way you are. You're good, right? Even with those choices, God can redeem that. It's just not for me.
Right. You work on yourself, and then He may open the door where somebody's
going to swoop in and be like,
you
hey,
become their preference.
I'm good with that.